Welcome to Sustainability Unplugged, a podcast by Olive Gaia, where we engage industry leaders exploring sustainability, best practices, innovation, and corporate responsibility. I'm Jessica Scopacasa, your host and co founder of Olive Gaia. As we record today's episode on March 10, 2026, the Gulf is in a state of war. The human, economic, and environmental toll is unparalleled and incalculable at the moment. Broadcasting today from Dubai to talk about sustainability might seem almost counterintuitive. Many companies are understandably focused on business continuity and navigating economic and safety challenges. Yet, it is precisely in moments like this that the true business value of sustainability becomes most relevant. In today's episode, we explore sustainability not as a compliance exercise, but as a force for resilience and growth. To do so, I'm joined by Gulper Kukukomuruku, Sustainability Manager at Transmed, a global FMCG distribution company connecting leading multinational brands with retailers, restaurants, and consumers across the Middle East, Africa, and Europe. In her role, Gulper established Transmed's first sustainability function, led the company's ISO 14001 certification, and built its greenhouse gas inventory in alignment with the Greenhouse Gas Protocol. Gulper, welcome to Sustainability Unplugged.
Hi, Jessica. Thanks for hosting me today.
Lovely. So let's start from the very beginning of Transmed's sustainability journey. What really triggered sustainability action at Transmed in the very first place? Was it leadership driven or stakeholder driven?
So back in early days, we launched our company purpose, which was just really setting the overall direction for Transmed. And this was actually when sustainability first entered the conversation for us. One of the company beliefs stated back at the time was building a sustainable business that thrives on caring for the environment and the communities we serve. So it was already there in our purpose, but fast forward to 2024, we said, okay, we need to take this commitment a step further and formally launch our sustainability program. And we called it Transmed Going Green. We launched it back in December 2024. So it basically started with asking ourselves what's our role in this ecosystem, what we can do differently in the distribution world, and then translating it into real actions across our operations.
That's really interesting. So you touched upon, of course, the distribution space. So what do you think really makes sustainability so important and urgent in this vertical?
So today what I can say is consumers are much more aware than they were in the past. They have access to more information, demanding more from the brands that they buy. And to keep up with this new demand, global principles and manufacturers are setting stronger sustainability targets and requirements. So we start to see these sustainability claims on the packs. We see it in beauty industry, like Sephora, communicating that they are sustainable or cruelty-free. We see it in fast fashion. We see it in music industry. So we started to see it a lot, and also this cascaded down to FMCG sector as well. So as distributors of these global principles and multinational brands, we are in the middle of this value chain. So we are connecting these manufacturers with the consumers. So we move large volumes of products on a daily basis. So we are also responsible and we need to take care of our part of the equation. So this is what makes it important for FMCG distribution space. And also beyond the responsibility, I think staying relevant is very important here. So companies, they can be in distribution space or they can be in manufacturing or any other space that spot these trends early and build capabilities to meet these evolving expectations from the consumers and then from the principals will thrive at the end. So it's not only about reducing our impact, but also about staying relevant and being a trusted partner for the future for these brands, I would say.
So my understanding is that a lot of the push was coming from customers and probably partners, right, in your sustainability journey. Is this still something that is externally driven in Transmed, or do you see now more board or leadership mandate in pushing for sustainability action?
So I would say it recently started to be externally driven, especially like in food service industry. So in Transmed, we are both in consumer goods and food service. So we started to see this a lot from the hotels and restaurants in the region, first requiring these sustainability metrics, our action plans for what we are doing for sustainability. But still, compared to global landscape, these are not very mandatory. Like I wouldn't say mandatory here. So it's still a bit more needs to come from internal driven for the companies. For Transmed, it was, I would say, a bit of mix of both top down and bottom up. When we first started this journey, we formed a sustainability committee, including our leadership team. This committee oversees companies' sustainability performance and KPIs. And I think in this area of sustainability, it's very important to get the leadership buy-in because sometimes, you need to shake up the status quo a bit. You need to introduce new ways of doing things, and it requires endorsement from the top. So I would say it's still leadership needs to be involved to drive. But at the same time, it needs to be supported from a bottom up also for employees to adopt it because it's overall a culture change across the organization. So you need to shift the mindset. Everybody needs to think about what they can do differently, how they can, their usual day to day, how they can operate these tasks more eco-friendly. So I say it's a combination of all, the direction of the market was moving there. We started to see a bit of external, but we jumped on it also and built this bottom up and top down, everyone adopting the sustainability mindsets. So it's a mix and combination.
That's very interesting to hear. Leadership, oftentimes, sustainability is very much perceived as a cost center for some
Yes,
organizations rather
unfortunately.
than rather than a value creator. So I wonder if, from a business leadership perspective, you were able to basically quantify any tangible benefits that sustainability brought to Transmed so far. So I'm thinking, for example, of any cost savings or risk reductions. Were you
Yeah.
able to do that?
Yes. So just spot on. There is always this assumption that sustainability is expensive. There are still some areas sustainability is expensive. Today, if you want to change your packaging from plastic, unfortunately, plastic is very cheap in the market. So if you want to move to an eco-friendly option, yes, it comes as a price premium. But what I can say is at Transmet, we actually experienced the opposite. I don't know if we were lucky or no, but I can give some ideas. We actually saved money in 2025 across all the sustainability initiatives that we introduced. Example today, installing a solar panel is very viable commercially. It usually pays off in like 3-4 years max. We started to monitor our energy consumption across our sites. We took actions on that to reduce our electricity consumption by 10%. We do use route optimization tools to reduce the distance that we travel. So technology is evolving, and with the technology, some solutions are becoming cheaper. So it's all about identifying what are the projects that you can generate value. And here, the important thing is to look at it at a long term. So when in Transmed, when we are setting all these projects, we don't look at today how it's going to impact our cash flow, but we put a 4-5 year projection, and then we can see the business case, and then we can see the savings. Some of them are taking time to generate savings, some of them are on the spot. But overall, for us, with the new technology, new brands in the market, new products in the market, we actually saved money. There is also this concept of, maybe it's a bit difficult. So the savings, the quantifying of money that you save is easy. But
Yeah.
there's also the reputational value that you gain, maybe a bit more difficult for you to quantify. But if you position yourself as a sustainability driven company, you start to get, I cannot say at this stage, like, we won a tender just because of our sustainability performance, but we started to get a bit more like, the preferred supplier treatment.
Mm-hmm.
I would say. So we started to get these inquiries from our customers, from our partners. And when we are being able to answer these requirements or inquiries, we kind of differentiate ourselves from the market and the peers. So this, I think we will see this more in the future. It's going to be very important to adopt these sustainability practices to reduce your risk, to gain this, preferred supplier position. So these are a bit difficult to quantify, but I think as important as the money that we are saving from the initiatives.
Absolutely. So when you have to sell internally sustainability,
Yeah.
what would be, the business case in just one sentence?
Now, I say this always: future proof your business.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important to stay relevant and attractive as a company to your partners, to your customers, to your talent market, to investors. So staying relevant, staying attractive, reducing your risk. These are all linked to business continuity. So I say this always: sustainability is equal to future proofing your business.
Absolutely. Very, very true. I'd like now to explore a little bit more about your achievements and practical wins in sustainability. What is the one achievement that you're particularly proud of in your journey at Transmed so far?
Here I can give example of, we recently introduced our first electric truck into our fleet back in October 2025. So as a distribution company, our core is moving products from one place to another. And when we first started our sustainability journey, we said we want to lead by example in our industry.
Mm-hmm.
Today, when you look at the landscape, there are plenty of companies more advanced in sustainability, multinationals, or some companies that have offices there, but as headquarters in other regions of the world where it's mandated here. But within our industry, I would say distribution, we don't see sustainability practices a lot. So this one truck, although it was one and it's our first truck, it was a very big milestone for us. Show that even in our industry, you can start exploring sustainability. And it was the first step for us when we achieving our mission of leading by example. Of course, this year we have in our pipeline much more to scale this initiative. But I can say this was the first, and not first, but the biggest achievement that we are proud of, I would say.
Is there any initiative that you believe delivered more than you expected when you planned for it?
Yeah. Here, what I can say is we kicked off a real-time energy monitoring project in our selected sites in UAE, in our warehouses for frozen section and the food section. So it's actually a technology that there's a company that is implementing this here in the UAE. It's basically monitoring your energy consumption at asset level real time. So today, we always track with our watches how many steps we take, how much is our, heart rate and everything, but we never tracked real time how much energy we are consuming. When it first started, we weren't very sure how it's gonna end up, how much we will be able to save. But the moment we kicked off, it's actually we started to see that we are wasting a lot of energy for nothing. Some compressors that we don't need were running, some lights were off when we didn't need it.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when you see waste, example, a packaging waste or a product waste, you see it with your own eyes, it's easy. But spotting energy waste is very difficult. You don't see it with your eyes. It usually comes in your bill. You take it as an operational cost. It was actually very interesting for us. We started as a pilot. We saw 15% wastage on energy. We immediately actioned it and saved, and now we are scaling it to our other locations as well. So I can say this was a surprise for us.
I can already see a common thread. As looks like you're really leveraging technology and innovation
Yes.
very much for sustainability management and to really have that positive impact without negatively affecting the balance sheet, rather helping improve the bottom line.
Correct.
So, talking more about initiatives, I know that you're currently conducting a materiality assessment, engaging your internal and external stakeholders. I wanted to
Yes.
understand what prompted this step now, as of course you already have your strategy and you have a number of these initiatives. So, why now doing a materiality assessment for Transmed?
Yeah. So when we started first, as I said, we launched it back in December 2024. 2025 was for us to understand actually what we are doing, where we are, what's our impact, what processes that we have. Did the GHG inventory report. We mapped our scope. The first year was us understanding ourselves. Then we said, okay, now we know where we are. It actually makes sense now to go a bit outside and check with our partners, with our stakeholders, what they are expecting from Transmed, for example, in this area. So, yes, we had our projects before, we had our pillars for the program before, but this year we said, let us first go check if it's in line with, if we are syncing with what the expectations of our stakeholders are, and then fine tune our direction as a company to make sure that we are covering all the material topics for our stakeholders.
Great. Let's focus then on just one moment on the challenges. I realize we talked a lot about the wins. You did and implemented a lot of initiatives from greenhouse gas inventory to, again, energy monitoring and efficiency, electrification of the fleet, solar panels. But I'm pretty sure you faced quite some challenges in this
Yeah.
journey. So, what are the biggest practical challenges that you encountered so far?
I would say data collection was very tedious in the beginning.
Mhm.
And I think most of the companies, when they first start this journey, they will realize this is one big obstacle that you need to clear out. So the data usually doesn't come from a single source. You often need to reach out to multiple stakeholders. If you are starting from scratch, sometimes you might not even have the data in place yet.
Mm.
So every company has different ways of storing their data, like, keeping record. So it was a bit difficult for us in the beginning. I'm sure you'll remember also we work with Olive Gaia on this.
Yes.
So how we managed to solve is in the beginning upfront, we spent quite some time understanding how data is stored, who owns it, and then how can we collect this data in most seamless way possible. Today, if you go to a team in finance or a team in procurement and say, okay, I want this data extra, it can be seen as, extra work on top. So the idea is to figure out the best way that, the seamless way, I would say, to make it easy for collecting the data. And once you kick off, set the rhythm, things get much more easier. So you don't spend time a lot on data collection. You would rather use this data, quickly calculate, get the insights, and spend your time on actually actioning on the insights that you figure out from this data. So this is one challenge that we faced actually in Transmed, but we sorted out now and we are on a good track.
So starting is probably the
Yes,
toughest part of this.
it
And
is.
as we inch close to the end of this episode, I'd like to turn to the future, although it's pretty uncertain as we speak. But I'd love to know, what is your key focus area for the next 1 to 2 years?
So actually last week I was just presenting this to our sustainability committee. So what we want to do this year and the next year also, because it's going to be taking some time, to move sustainability from being a parallel function to fully embed across our operations and decision making. So we don't want it to go in parallel as a separate program. We want to integrate it in how we do business today. It's not as easy as it sounds. It
Mm.
requires changes in how things are done today. So we will be taking this step by step this year. And to do that, we are engaging now with the materiality assessment. Also, one of the reasons was for that. We want to engage with our partners to identify the opportunities, check out what we can do in procurement space, in logistics space, thinking again how we ship products, deliver products, how we can integrate sustainability in all these steps. So this is going to be the focus for Transmed for the upcoming 2 years, I would say.
That's really, really interesting on how sustainability is moving from a separate function into actually the core operations of the organization. One last question is if you can share possibly one piece of advice to sustainability managers in a similar role.
Okay, I would say don't look for perfection from day one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a journey. Sustainability is a journey. It will not happen overnight. Just start by understanding where you are, what your organization's strengths are, and build on these strengths to start your initial steps. Start from somewhere and then keep sharing even the smallest wins across organization to drive the momentum. So this is what I would give an advice. It might look a bit complicated in the beginning, but again, it will not be perfect overnight. As long as we take steps, it means we are improving. This is what I would say.
Thank you so much, Gulper. It was truly great having you on this podcast. And I really enjoyed and learned a lot actually from all the insights that you shared. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica. It was a pleasure for me to be here as well.
Thanks. And to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Sustainability Unplugged. If you're listening from the region, please stay safe, take care. Until next time, I'm Jessica Scopacasa, and this is Sustainability Unplugged by Olive Gaia.